Fucking some of you fuckers may know we have an album coming up. We've fucking finished recording it. We've finished fucking mastering it. It's time to fucking play one from that album. This one's about speaking with the dead. It's called Speaking with the Dead!
Welcome to the Riff Crew. I'm your host, Steve Mitchell, back for another big episode. And joining me, as always, is my great mate who's not a friend or a fan of my beard. Skull, how you doing, mate?
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen in Cyberland. As you know, this is Skull, broadcasting from the past, present, and future in the Chamber of the Cosmos. Here with my good friend Steve Oz from Ozland. I'm an on-again, off-again DC bomb rock band Black Manta. I've been in the scene for over 35 years. I know people from all over the scene. I also worked at the Smithsonian for 20 years and have incorporated my love and passion for history with my love and passion for music. And as usual, really excited to be here. We have a very special guest with us here today. It's a real honor to have with us again, one of the godfathers of the fantasy genre. He's also a lyricist and member of Hawkwind and Blue Oyster Cult, the creator of Elric and the Eternal Champion Multiverse. Mr. Michael Moorcock, great to have you here.
Great to be here, Skull. Good to see you again.
It's great to have you here in a segment that we affectionately call the Eternal Tales of Michael Moorcock.
And I think he's got a great beard.
I also just wanted to say happy birthday. I know that that's right around the corner for you.
Yeah, next week. Yep, I'll be 86.
86.
And still recording. I've got two new recording jobs. One for, I think they may be both for Cleopatra. But anyway, one for, and the Dances at the End of Time albums that have been coming out, they're also being redone by Cleopatra, just the songs rather than the whole shebang. But they should be out soon too. And
well,
I'm sorry if I'm
say, isn't your birthday Lemmy's birthday? You guys were pretty close together. His is right around the corner
yeah, I
too.
think it was. My birthday is the 18th of December. Keith is the 18th of December. And what's his name? The filmmaker, he's the 18th of December too. So the guy who made whatever it was. I can't remember. Jaws and all those movies.
Oh, Spielberg. Oh, wait, you're saying
Spielberg,
Keith Richards? Yeah. Keith Richards too?
Keith Richards, yeah.
Oh, his is the 18th. Okay, I didn't know that.
So we're all the 18th of December. And we're going to have one big party in Jamaica. Well, if there's any Jamaica left, of course, that depends a lot on the elements.
Well, I also just wanted to say, as previously, I wanted to start off by saying I dedicate the show to a dear friend of mine and a brother of mine, Jeffrey Francis, from the venerated halls of RPG Central, who recently passed away. And he was a massive fan of yours. I dedicated the last show to him, and he's still on my mind, so I wanted to dedicate this one to him as well.
Yeah, sure.
But I also wanted to remind everybody out there, the audience out there, that Michael Moorcock, you're one of my literary heroes, one of the grandmasters of the fantasy genre. You were there during the birth of the genre from the very, very beginning. You influenced an entire generation of fantasy writers and filmmakers, comic books, role-playing games for over 60 years now. But you're also a huge fan of music, and you were talking about that a little bit, about the new album that just came out. I have it right here. The End of All Songs Part 2.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's part 1 that Cleopatra are doing, and I suppose they plan to do the others as well over time. They're doing 12 inches of those, so that's going to be vinyl fans are going to like it. The vinyl fantasy. Sorry, that was a very bad pun. Off we go.
Well, I really, there's something, I really love the End of All Songs. There's something very powerful and poetic to that title. I mean, does it mean anything to you in particular?
Well, it comes from oh God, whoever wrote it. That one of the poets in the Romantic movement at the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. Associated with people like Aubrey Beardsley and Oscar Wilde and that bunch. And I think it's Ernest Dowson, that particular poet. But throughout the books, I used those poets, that group of poets, as I took my titles from their books and their poems,
Okay.
and so on. So that's why it's there. Yeah, it does have a particular. Well, it has a resonance because it's about the end of time. So it's. I wanted to write some books about the end of the world, which were comedies rather than the usual
Mm.
dystopias. So that's really why I did that.
Well,
So sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say I was listening to it, and the song, you're all over it, and you have a lovely voice, and the first song, "When Will We Hear?" There's at the very end, I believe it's you. I'm pretty sure I was able to single out your voice. At the very end of the song, it says, "We have a story to tell," and that I was thinking about that, and that kind of exemplifies your entire life. We all have a story to tell. I mean, I love that line because it really relates to me and to a lot of people, I'm sure. No matter who you are, no matter where you're from, everyone has their own story to tell. So that one that
Absolutely,
particular
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, everybody does. And I mean, and if you're in the back of a London taxi, you get more than one. But but yeah, I mean, I suppose I got expelled from one of my schools because I kept the other kids up at night. Not because I was a particularly bad kid, but I'd keep the other kids up at night telling them stories, and I not
That's
they were partly
awesome.
lies about my own life, to tell you the truth, stolen from Rudyard Kipling, but we won't go into that too deeply. But that's I was telling them how I was raised by wolves in the forest, and
Mowgli.
anyway, and they moved me eventually out of the dormitory and into a single room. But what happened is the kids would come from the dormitory to the room I was in and want to hear more stories. So, and I was only 7 then, 7 and 8 at that particular school. So it was, it was obvious that that was what I was destined to do. And I'm doing it. I've been doing it
Been
rather
doing it
more
ever
than
since.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I also I finished reading the Dances at the End of the Time trilogy, and I wanted to say how awesome it was that you mentioned in the very beginning the Hawkwind guys in the beginning of an
Oh
Alien Heat.
yeah, that's right.
That
Yeah, yeah. That's when we
is
were all
there.
together. Yeah, so when
Oh,
Naomi
okay,
was
so it
there,
was
and
around the time of when you were in the band at the time.
absolutely, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And so
the
was
Warrior on
Lemmy,
the Edge of Time.
and of course Nikki was in it, and yeah, exactly. That's about the time. And we all I think that's oh no that's not the one. It's I think it's in the book I did that was the what's his name? Johnny Rotten and that lot. I did the book of that movie,
Oh, Sex
and
Pistols,
yeah, and in that book I had
Filth
I
and the
had
Fury,
sorry.
Filth and the Fury.
Well, if you like, yeah. But the book. What was it called? It was called something about um, the great rock and roll swindle. That was it.
Oh, Great Rock and Roll
Um,
Swindle.
yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I had a character going into the Mountain Grill and seeing all the Hawkwing guys in the Mountain Grill too, which sadly is no longer there since you have to be a millionaire to live in that area now. You had to be completely destitute to live in that area when I first moved into it. Anyway, yeah, that was it. And I also, I love that period. I was particularly interested in that literary period. So in a way, it's my, if you like, homage to to well, to those aesthetic poets that I was so fond of at the time, and a lot of
You know,
people were. I mean, it was, you know, that's what hippies liked.
well, I wanted to say when I was reading that, something really stuck with me. It was in the end of all songs of the book, and it really it really stuck with me so much that I made a mental note of it and I wanted to talk to you about it. Now, in the book, they run into Jarek, and they run into someone from the Temporal Guild, and I can't remember her name, but so they're talking and she's
Was it? Is
explaining.
it Una Person? Una
Yes,
Person?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's explaining to them about time, and she says something very powerful to me. And I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit, but she says something like, she says, time will never be quantified because the thing about time is whenever you answer one question, it opens a door for 10 more. And I
Yeah.
thought that was very powerful, very poetic and philosophical. It really stuck with me because, time is a mystery that will never be solved. And, for me
Yeah,
personally,
I think so.
it kind of speaks for the possibility of some kind of maybe intelligent design or higher power, something, or something
Maybe, yeah.
beyond our human understanding. And
Well, I think if quantum theory, if we get to know more about quantum physics, we may get to know more about time. You know, and and how it behaves, because again we could be there could be millions and millions or billions or an infinite number of us, you and I at the moment. You're talking and more or less replicating, exactly what the other lot of people in time are saying too. So that's another theory that I've started to get interested in, particularly because of quantum theory. So just is time a simple repetition, or is it all are the same things going on in an infinite number of spaces, as it were. Yeah, it doesn't suggest to me a higher power. I'm not much given to higher powers because it tends to take away from man's ingenuity. The ingenuity of humanity. But I suppose we could be a higher power, as it were, the whole bunch of thinking human beings. We could be creating our own environment all the
what,
time.
whenever I use that term, I mean, for me, obviously, people do, like, they study, they're on this journey their entire life, seeking
Mhm.
answers. And for me, it's like, to me, it means something that is so far beyond my comprehension that I can't even fathom it,
Yeah,
so,
it
but
could be. It could also be something so easy to think about, to be within your comprehension, that you haven't
mm,
even given it any thought. so
sure,
so it
sure.
could be both.
Mm,
That's really what I like about existence, I suppose. That it's just
mm,
full of paradoxes. There is
mm.
no one truth, and it's pretty ridiculous for us with our little brains to start telling people there's one true thing, because
Mhm.
pretty much everything is true. I'm sure, somewhere.
Sure, but
um,
I really love the poetic nature of that line where it's like, as soon as one question is answered, it opens
yeah,
up the door for
absolutely. Yeah,
a
yeah,
thousand other questions. So,
absolutely. Yeah, none of which, of course, we have the answers to. So,
right. And it's interesting. I was thinking about that as well. It seemed that, you really have like a keen understanding of time. Just reading the book, all the books that I've read over the years, the multiverse and eternal champion books, you really seem to have a keen understanding of time and spatial reality. I mean, do you know where that came from? or do you know
Not
when
really.
if there was like if you had like a eureka moment? Was there some kind of epiphany?
No, not really. I started thinking about time pretty early on, I think, as a kid. Um, Also, I like time stories, particularly time paradox stories. Um, I don't read a lot of science fiction these days, but if you can get me a good time story, you got me hooked. Wherever it is, whether it's on television or or in print. Um, so I'm always fascinated by that. And as you say, but by the paradoxes and so on of time. Um, I'm not sure where it came. I'm not sure where any of this came from. I mean, because I'm not. I wouldn't call myself an intellectual. I do think about things, but I've got intellectual friends, and they seem a lot brighter than I am. But maybe that's because we don't talk about the same things or have an interest in the same things. But well, of course, quite a lot of people I've known over the years have had, and I've probably most of my stuff has probably been just picked up in conversation, as well as reading. But I haven't read anything. Well, I'll backtrack on that. I haven't read that much about time. There's J.W. Dunn's theories, which I actually just pulled out of my bookcase the other day. I say pulled it out because I didn't know it was there, and it actually fell out. Um, and
You were meant to find it at the right time.
Well, yeah, but the trouble is, a couple of books about the Nazis fell out at the same time, so
Wow.
we better skip over that as fast as possible.
Time traveling Nazis.
Yeah, yes, they probably would have tried it to be. I mean, they were so essentially dumb that they probably thought that H.G. Wells, all they had to do was study his kind of bicycle, which is fundamentally his time machine, is a bicycle that whirls about and stuff. They would probably spend a lot of time, trying to reinvent that. Which, if it kept them away from the more unpleasant aspects of their rule, probably would have been a good idea. I know they were trying to find the hollow Earth, which I don't think they succeeded in doing. But they should have stuck to that. Really, I'd have been all right. A bunch of loonies looking for the hollow Earth would have been fine. But unfortunately, they had other policies as well.
Well, did you think as a kid? Well, you said you told stories as a kid. What do you think there was any like a eureka moment, or maybe reading H.G. Wells? You think that maybe?
No, honestly, there wasn't. It's just I think what you'd say it was a gradual accumulation of interest. Just something I kept being interested in, and I read, as I say, I read. Somebody that I've just found an old copy of L. Sprague de Camp and Fletcher Pratt's The Complete Enchanter. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's about a guy who, in the first story, it's called The Mathematics of Magic, and he goes back into the time of the Norse gods, and I'm beginning to suspect, because I've only just started it and I've read that's the first story and I've just read that. I'm beginning to suspect that maybe other ideas of mine came from them. But Sprague de Camp wrote a great deal about time travel and people going back into different periods of time. And I know I was fascinated by that as a kid when I was reading him. He did another one about...
It kind of seeped into your subconscious.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think my subconscious probably does more work than my conscious, as it were. It's busy doing its stuff, I let it get on with it. It doesn't get paid a penny. It works for nothing.
Well, I wanted to ask you, and I've been meaning to ask you this. This is one of the questions that's been on my list for a long time. Now, you might have been asked this before, but your name, I've always been fascinated by your name, like the etymology of your name.
Oh,
I
it's a
think
very, yeah, sorry, very
because it
simple.
means like to when I see it, I hear the rooster crows on the moors. It's very gothic, it's very
Yeah,
esoteric, very poetic, very English, kind of to
yeah.
me, kind of full of this kind of Albionic magic and energy. It's kind of quintessential English to me. So,
Well,
do
I
you
don't want to
happen to know like
spoil.
the history of it or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. I don't want to spoil your. I think your ideas are better than the reality. Reality is all it means is son of Morris.
Oh,
In um, I live in Rue Saumon in Paris, which is Morris again, more Morris,
mhm.
and so the name probably comes from Old French and with a bit of Old English added onto it. But of course, there are also
Anglo-Saxon.
yeah. It's also another name for grouse, for the bird, the for grouse. So in
Hmm.
Scotland, um, well, no, not in Scotland, in Yorkshire, where I used to live, there are loads of places called Moorcock. There's a Moorcock Inn, there's a Moorcock Village, and so on.
Hmm.
And I used to live around there, and in my imagination, I'm sure, not much else. I imagine my old ancestors living in that area, and felt it's mostly moorland, where I was living, and it's wild and very romantic, really.
Sure.
Also very cold, which is why Linda didn't want to stay living there. We had to move to warmer climes. Um, but it could be, it's that those are the two normal etymological origins of the name, and neither of them is very romantic, I'm afraid. Although there was a Saint Maurice, or Saint Maur, so that's about the most romantic it gets. I'm not sure what he did now, but he sainted. He went around being a
Hmm.
saint. Whatever saints do, I don't know.
Well,
Anyway,
it
and that was
definitely
his
is
job.
very quintessential English, and I love it. And it always just I always thought about that, so my version of definitely has kind of a poetic, kind of a
Yeah, yours
romantic
does.
spin on
But
it.
if you think about it, there's people called Babcock. There's quite a lot of people with that name, with that ending to the name, and it does
Mhm.
just mean son. Um, it used to be, for instance, somebody might have been called Morris's cock, which doesn't sound sounds worse than it meant, which meant Morris's son, and it's an affectionate name quite often used for a young
Mm.
boy. Hello, my little cock, how you doing? That sort of thing. Used to be what people would say to lively youngsters that they liked.
Right. Well, I didn't get it. So just back to the album. So did you have a favorite song on the album, and how did you feel about the
Mhm.
whole process? I mean, you're at the end of you're at literally at the end of all songs. It's the
Yeah.
end. You've
Well,
completed the project, and
isn't there one more to come? I thought there was one more to come because they couldn't get everything on to the last album, and I think Don Falcone's doing um, a last
oh
album, and this
oh
I
part
think
part
so.
part three. This is part
Uh,
two.
oh, is that part two? Okay, well we've done it then. Sorry, I get confused.
Yeah,
I've done a
yeah.
lot of stuff since then, and I'd forgotten where we were. Um, Yeah, I think I don't know if I told you I did three old songs for Cleopatra just recently. I did
Alan Davey, right?
yeah, right, and he
Oh,
did
okay. Yeah,
and
yeah.
and Cleopatra commissioned him to do them, to record that, produce them, and I did Motorhead. I did Bob Calvert's Green Fly in the Rose, and I did my own Star Cruiser, which are what they asked for. And they seemed very pleased with them. I mean, according to Alan, they said, that I sounded very, very, very youthful, which I suppose isn't bad at 86. I mean, I hope it lasts. I hope it lasts at least till I'm 90.
That's awesome.
They
Well,
used to,
you look and sound amazing. I mean, you're still sharp as ever. So,
and I call it, as I said before, I call it, just healthy peasant genes. I can't think of any other reason for it. I haven't done. I had an operation recently, and I was only in the hospital for a short while while they did it. It was done by robots, as is often done these days. And thank God for the robots.
yeah,
And
thank God for the robots.
and I said, my wife, I think, said to the doctor, well, what should he be having a special diet now, doctor? And he said, no. He said you can go back to eating all the or making all the bad food choices that you made that got you in here in the first place. So that's what I'm doing. Except I had to have mouth surgery. So it's only recently I've got working. I can use my my mouth very much, except of course to talk endlessly. And according to my wife anyway, and
You can have that means you can have a full English breakfast with sausages.
I could, yes, yeah. I've never been much for a full English breakfast, not since I was actually on the road. When a full English breakfast was about the best thing you could get, and if you were traveling, but I tend to have a rather healthy English breakfast, what you might call a full Scottish breakfast, which is oatmeal. I don't really, but I can have a full English roast dinner, which I'm much looking forward to. And I think we'll be in England and France next year. We couldn't do it this year because of a fire in our apartment in France, and which they still haven't fixed. But we reasoned that we'd better get over there because they're never going to fix it unless we're actually on the spot, breathing down their necks, as it were. So next year we'll be in England and France, and I tend to make up for all the lost roast dinners and the like, which I haven't been able to get in Texas. All I have in Texas is barbecue and a lot of chili. And I'm allergic to peppers. My wife, we're involved in a. Oh, you've gone. Hello.
Well,
Did you know you?
We can still see you.
Yeah, I can still see you. There you are. Yeah, you're back. We were involved in a rather difficult case of. With a violent person in recent times.
Oh, geez.
Well, Linda's Linda got the women's refuge built here in this part of Texas when she was working for the women's refuge center, and. So we tend to know quite a lot of those people still, and we're still kind of in a particular case. There's this somewhat violent guy who's prowling around, and so anyway, we thought we'd get some pepper spray, in case he turned up. According to his wife, he's a lousy shot, so we could either get killed instantly or not killed at all. It depends.
One or the other, huh?
Yeah, one or the other. So we thought we'd get some pepper spray until we discovered what pepper is used in pepper spray. And I mean, I go into a straight anaphylactic shock with peppers. If somebody slips me some peppers, I swell up, like a balloon, and and pretty much totally out of action and threatened with death. So we decided we wouldn't get a pepper spray after all. Probably we'd just better stick to I don't know, to throwing stones. And I've got a few old instruments. I've got Stormbringer, of course. I could drag Stormbringer out.
Yeah.
I must show you Stormbringer sometime on a show, because it's a beautiful sword. It was forged by the same people who make real swords for, not that this isn't a real sword, it is a real sword, but make real swords for the Tower of London. I mean, they know their stuff. And this is just the most beautifully balanced sword. And it looks like Stormbringer. So I don't know if I told you this, but we keep it in the broom closet.
That's why you're so young. That's why you're so healthy.
Well, yeah, but I could be evil too. I could be young and evil. I'm not sure. But anyway, we keep it in the broom closet, thoroughly closed, just in case it gets out and chases the cat around. You know, we wouldn't like it to start killing our pets. So we have to be careful with it. But I'll get it out sometime, and if I can think of it ahead of time, because it's behind a bunch of brooms and mops and so on.
I'll remind you for next time. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, it was actually on display in Seattle. Seattle had a fantasy exhibition. I think it was a fantasy, or it was popular fiction or something like that. You know, an exhibition, and they had it on as an exhibit then. For quite a long time until I got it back. So there are probably photographs of it around. But anyway, I will try and remember to or you remind me ahead of time, and I'll get it out of the closet. And
I will. I'll do that.
Make sure the cat's not around, because I'm fond of the cat.
So the Alan Davey album, do you know when that might be coming out?
I've absolutely no idea.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't know until about a week or so ago, when my last book that I finished now ages ago, but it's not coming out till next October. I've had this kind of backlog really building up, and suddenly everything's starting to come out. But because there's so much of it, they're having to, pace when they bring things out. So I suspect
you're talking about the Wounds of Albion, right?
Yes, I'm talking about the Wounds of Albion.
Oh, okay, so that's coming out next October, next fall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
I'm looking forward to that.
But for all I know, another book, the Albino's Secret came out a month or so back, and that happily has been well received. There's another one in the works. The publisher has it, and they may be planning to bring that out before they bring out Wounds of Albion. And I only realized about a month ago, I suppose, that Albion and albino are, one's an anagram of the other, and it's rather strange. When you see the titles together, they almost look the same. Anyway, but that was just something I spotted that I hadn't done deliberately, but probably somebody will make a whole theory out of it, and I'll read the theory and say, yeah, that's exactly true.
Right.
Which I'm inclined to do. If somebody's got an idea, it sounds like good to me. I'll go with it. That's probably why you think I've got such a profound philosophical mind. It's because I just agree with people when they suggest it.
I mean, it's that spark. I mean, you're channeling that cosmic spark, and and then people, it speaks to people, and they, and then it's like, oh, okay, I think I might be onto something here.
Absolutely, yeah. So, although some of the ideas I'm actually credited with, I people say I actually thought up. I didn't. I mean, or things I said, I never said. But that
makes you see. You're the wizard. You're the prophet. You're the one. You're You're
if you
channeling
like. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure Linda sees it that way, but but
Mhm.
if you,
You're
I'll go
channeling the
with it.
magic, my friend. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so what about the wounds of Albion? I know that you said that in the beginning, there was a first draft and you totally scrapped that and
Yeah,
you went back and started from scratch
yeah,
and but seemed to
yeah.
be very happy with it.
I think I am. Yeah, and
Because that's going to be the final
the
chapter, if you will.
final.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got another novel I'm writing now, but it's not within the Eternal Champion cycle. It's one of the very few that isn't.
Mm.
So yeah, I'll be writing. I'll be writing the whatever it's called, Stalking Balzac, and it's really based on. Well, not based on, but it's inquiring into a friend of mine who killed himself a few years ago, and he was a
Yeah,
very
I
close.
think you mentioned him
Yeah,
last time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a very close friend, and I mean, I'm still working it out. I,
I'm sorry to hear that.
I've got the first chapter or two written, but it's very hard to get properly focused on, But I'm getting there. And in the meantime, I'm catching up on my reading, or rather, I'm catching up on my old reading. I'm rereading stuff that I read, I don't know, 70 years ago. But it's still good,
That's all the L. Sprague de Camp stuff about time
Yeah,
travel.
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna have to
Although his
look into that.
his Conan stories are dreadful. I don't know if you've ever read any of his Conan
I
stories.
love them.
What L.
I
Sprague de
read all of
Camp.
them as a kid.
Well, I read all the Robert E. Howard, but
Of course.
when Sprague, who was a huge Howard fan, as I
Mhm.
was, we were friends, and I mean, we became friends. Obviously, I wasn't a friend when I was a kid reading his stuff, but we became friends, and he was a very, very good writer. He wrote a lot of stuff in Astounding that was very funny and good, witty, and then he got together with Lynn Carter and started writing those. I don't know. I call them fake Conan stories, but that's. And honestly, all his talent and seemed to desert him. And Howard is a talented writer, so I'm
Yeah.
not. It wasn't Howard that could have done this to him. He must have just hung around Lynn, who was a pretty terrible writer, I must say. Nice guy, very, very nice guy, sweet guy, but a
Mhm.
terrible writer, and and wrote dozens of I don't know, Lemurian stories and all kinds of stuff, which as kids, if I'd been a kid when I was reading it, I probably would have liked too,
Sure.
because I read quite a lot of that sub Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff. I was a huge Burroughs fan.
Absolutely.
And so it's a pity that that Fritz Leiber didn't write some Conan stories. I think he would have done a great job, but Fritz had his own character, just as I had mine. But I'm still trying to work out. Well, I've worked out the story for a comic that has Elric. It's an Elric Conan crossover.
That was a perfect segue. I was going to ask you about that. The
Yeah,
Titan
well,
Priest, right?
yeah. And I think I've got the story worked out. I might write it with my friend Mark Hodder, who I wrote the Albino's Secret and the other metatemporal detective stories with, because we seem to work well together.
Well,
And
if he's busy, I'd be more than willing to offer my
okay, all right. Yeah.
services.
Well, I don't know how many kids you got. And you got any?
I got two
You got
girls.
two? Well, Mark, I think, has got 3, so he's going to win so far. You just have to have some more
Okay.
kids before we come into it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, he's dealing with the floods in Spain. He lives in Valencia in Spain,
Oh,
and
okay.
he's having to try to get he's got twins. He's trying to get those twins to school every day, which is a bit of a problem, at the moment.
Sure.
I imagine him sort of plowing through mud and then getting into a boat and then going crossing an island until he finally gets to the school. It's just my imagination. I'm sure it's easier than that, but it's a bit hard for him at the moment.
So how far to Titan pressing? I mean, how far down the road do you think that might be?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I like the idea of doing it, and I'm enthusiastic about doing it. I have no problems with that. But the people who it isn't Titan who are Titan are publishing the stuff, but it isn't Titan who are commissioning the new Conan stuff. It's
Oh, okay.
it's a guy named Fred in either Sweden or in Scandinavia somewhere, and I need to know essentially what he's going to be paying. It's not so much for me, but if I do it with somebody else, they need to know about
Sure.
payment, and they don't. I don't know. They like the idea. I mean, they were enthusiastic about the idea, but they won't tell me what their page rate is. So I can't begin to just to sit down and work it out. As I say, I'm a hack. I need to know what rates they're
Oh, of
paying.
course. You're a professional. I mean, of course.
I don't mind writing a book, and not knowing how much I'm going to be paid. Although usually I do. But comics, you really, I've written comics since I was a kid, and we always knew what the page rate was, and once
Right.
you know what the page rate is, basically how much you're earning per picture. It's very easy with comics.
Well, I'm talking to all the guys at the Dreaming City Fellowship, Jim Kirkland, Mark Jackson. We're all very excited about it. So we're really excited, for it to happen.
Well, if we'll see if Mark hasn't drowned in the meantime, I'll probably see if he wants to do it with me. Well, I know he does want to do it with me, but he hasn't written comics before, and I know that writing comics is a particular skill. I mean, it seems easy, but it's not that easy. And I happen to have that skill because I'd had it since I was a kid. But
Sure.
Not everybody's got it. So that's part of what we still haven't tried it out between us.
You have to take a lot and convey it down into a little bit. You have to get your message across.
There's two methods too. There's the DC method and there's the Marvel method. The Marvel method, you leave a lot more to the artist, and you do a lot of the scripting after it's drawn. Whereas with the DC method, which is the method that I've always used, it's more like writing a film script. And you sit down and you write a continuity, if there is a continuity box, and you write what's going on in the scene and you write the dialogue, page by page. That's how you write it. With Marvel, you basically do a sort of outline, and then the artist does his bit, and then you come back and you write the rest of it, in after the artist has drawn it. And I don't really like working that way. I've always worked, to me, the old-fashioned way, which is like doing a film script. It's aside from the continuity box, it is pretty much exactly the same as doing a film script. You give the time of day, the kind of whether it's night or day or what's going on in the scene, and you give what, and then you describe what the characters
Sure.
are up to, and then you do their dialogue. And I can't really write. Well, I mean, I guess I could, but I don't want to because I'm an old hack. I want to do it the way I've always done it. So we'll just have to see. And also, of course, with writing this novel, it's I still haven't got that properly worked out in my head, and the way public events keep getting in the way. I do the Jerry Cornelius stories usually in relation to what's going on in the world, like the war in Ukraine and so on, and what's happening here and etc. And unfortunately, what's going on in the world at the moment is tends to engage my attention rather closely, as it does many of us. I'm trying not to think about it, because I also believe that this isn't the beginning of something bad. I think it's the end of something bad, and it will eventually collapse into itself, and we'll be able to make some progress in in human intelligence and human affairs. But at the moment, it's.
I agree with you.
You do? Yeah, good.
I do.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to get through this.
Yeah,
I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's what I think too. So maybe we're just idiot optimists. Who knows? But nonetheless,
I'm the eternal optimist and idealist.
Yeah, I am too.
Always have been.
You can always rely on me. If everybody else is sitting around brooding about how terrible the world is, I can find something that's good about it in there somewhere. So don't worry, let's all be able. I could probably be sitting in some concentration camp, say, "Don't worry, it's going to be all right." And, in a few days, and they're saying, "Yeah, but meanwhile, what's happening?"
The world needs people like us, though. The world needs.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And I think the world is built on people like us.
Yes.
I'm interested in the Fabians, who I suppose in the 1880s sort of began a lot of the progressive stuff that came to fruition in the 20th century, particularly the second half of the 20th century. So I think, that's how it starts. It starts with small groups of people, working out ideas and being optimistic, and believing that the world can be changed for the better. And then suddenly, almost overnight, it starts to happen. And at the moment, what's going on is people, when it started to happen, let's say in the 60s, when at least I started seeing it, and there's a reaction to that. All the old farts who hate what's happening, all the good, to me, the good that's happening in the world. Oh, there are some very ridiculous things as well happening in the world.
Sure.
Are trying. It's like trying to make the world white again, as it were. You can't do it. It isn't going to happen that way. People are just going to get more and more brown, because we're intermarrying all the time.
Sure.
And all the science fiction writers, as there were quite a few, who saw the world as being essentially, brown, full of brown people, they were right, I think, and that's probably what's going to happen. But you can't somehow start. It's like Hitler thinking he could actually destroy the Jewish race. He couldn't possibly have, of Jewish faith. He couldn't possibly have done it. I mean, it was
crazy.
I'm not saying he didn't give it a good try, but nonetheless, it was just nonsense. And I think that's. I have to say that our present leader in this country is so illiterate and stupid that in a way, I'd like to see some of his ideas tried out. See, I mean, not obviously some of them are already proving not too good, but I just if they weren't cruel, they would be comical, And I'm finding a lot of them. I can't help it. I mean, I'm horrified at the cruelty that happens to ordinary people. And here in Texas, near the border, it happens all the time.
Sure, yeah.
But at the same time, some of the things people believe are so ridiculous that you can't help laughing. I mean, you just cannot help laughing. It's you wonder where.
It's high comedy, or it's a comedy of errors, or
Well, yeah,
it's very Python-esque.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Absurdism at its finest.
Yes.
Yeah.
At its most extreme.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I agree with all of that.
Yeah. Cheers. I'm going to follow you and have. I don't know what you're drinking. I'm just drinking water.
Okay, I'm gonna have some too. Have some of my elixir here.
Yeah. I hate water, but I got into the habit of drinking it because I think if I was drinking as much alcohol as I was drinking water, I probably wouldn't be coherent at all. So anyway.
Well,
yeah. But sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I know that Linda has a very strict hour time limit for us, so I just, of course, it's always a joy to talk to you. We'll have to get together the next time. I'll remind you. You'll pull out, your.
I will. Yeah, remind me ahead of time,
sword.
and I'll bring out Stormbringer, and of course it might turn on me and kill me in full view of your audience. So
you're the master, though. You created it. You have control.
Well, yeah, maybe not. It's something to look forward to. It should bump up your audience figures quite a lot if it suddenly turns, and that's the end of Moorcock.
Well, do you have any last words out there for your fans?
No, I mean we're in the season of goodwill at the moment, so goodwill to everybody, and happy Christmas to everybody, happy season to everybody, and let's hope we can enjoy it with what little is left to most of us. But I mean, half the country is sort of stuck in a sort of Charles Dickens Scrooge world. We happily are not having to cut back too much, but my instincts, my old instincts are to cut back, because I mean the grocery bills are so high, and and everything else is so high, people can't afford it, and so I just wish everybody out there, hope for everybody out there will be able to enjoy their Christmas and have a good time. We can all have a good time without having too much.
Well, I love that. So I just want to say the same thing. The happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and also happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I intend to have one.
I just have one. Hmm?
Sorry?
What were you saying?
Nothing really. I broke off.
What you say? What are you gonna do for your birthday?
Oh, I'll probably have now that my mouth's back in shape, I can go out and have a good lunch. I usually just have a lunch because we have to go into Austin to find a decent restaurant, and that's quite a drive. It's a fair drive from where we live. So I'll be going into Austin and having a good lunch. I probably won't be going to a movie, which I would like to do. I'd like to see the new Avatar movie, but the plots are stupid, but the movies themselves are great. They're really just like Edgar Rice Burroughs movies, and so I won't be doing that because I think there's too much. There are too many unvaccinated people around who, at the moment. So it's basically you're walking into a death trap if you go to a movie, at least at my age. So we won't be doing that, but we'll be doing something fun. Probably Linda will probably let me watch something stupid on television that I want to see, that she normally would moan about.
The football.
That's awesome.
Oh well, no, she watches the football all the time. She's just watched Fulham and Man City. And I don't know if you watch it, but it was a great game. I mean, both teams were at their very best, and Holland got his 100th goal this last match. So that's good. She'll be watching the rugby, of course, as well. I mean. It won't matter whether my birthday's going or not. She'll be watching the rugby.
The rugby takes precedence over your birthday.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm just hoping.
All right, well, it's always
game.
a joy and a pleasure to see you, man.
Yeah, it's very nice talking to you too.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and happy birthday. And I have one last thing to say as usual, and I just want to say I wanted to end this show by saying I dedicate the show to my old friend at RPG Central, especially my dear friend Jeff Francis, who recently passed away, and all my friends at RPG Central, the Knights of the Prime Material Plane, the Dreaming City Fellowship, my little sister Lisa, and my soulmate Wendy. Now remember, just want to say, look to the stars, carry that torch of enlightenment, and strive to be a disciple of rock and roll and the Brotherhood of Orpheus. Peace.
Well said. Peace and love.